thank you for watching Rachel's Card Studio. Today I will be going over this month's Make and Take packets that I will be sending out to anybody who uses the host code below for at least a $35 purchase. If you spend $150 or more, I want you to earn those host benefits, so do not use the host code, but I will still send you the Make and Takes for free. In the description below will be the host code as well as links to all of the products I use to make these cards. In order to make the cards, you will need the Sweet Conversation stamp set. You don't need the dies because I will be cutting everything out for you, the cardstock, the designer series paper, as well as the accent dies. But you might want to get it as well because it is so adorable. I would appreciate it if you like this video and also subscribed, and make sure you turn on the bell notification. Alrighty, so here are the 3 cards that we will be making today. This is card number 1, card number 2, which is a nice fun fold card, which is way easier than it looks, and then card 3. So before we get into making them, I wanted to show you the product suite that this stamp set came out of, as well as the designer series paper. I opted just to get the stamp and die set and the designer series paper. I wasn't a huge fan of this embossing folder, but I also got some of the ribbon too, but I didn't use that in any of these cards. All right. So here is card number 1. Very, very simple. Probably the easiest one that we have today. In your Make and Take kit, you'll get everything die cut for you. So it's pretty much just assembling and then just 3 stamps here. So you're going to start by adhering this super cute paper down. Here's the back, but I love the little heart design. So I'm using my Stampin' Seal. Just going to add that to the front of the card. And then also this little light pink band going right in the middle. So for these, I just use my paper snips to trim them. This is the die set here that comes with the bundle, the stamp set bundle. So this one here is just these hearts. Very adorable. So I just die cut it out in white. And then I also die cut it in the 3 different colors. That way there was a little pop of color in between. So I just held it where it's supposed to be, and then took my paper trimmers, my paper snips, and just cut along. And I just held it in place and trimmed. I just flipped it over so it's a little easier for me to cut, being right-handed. So then I just took my Stampin' Seal, make sure it's on there real good. And I put it at an angle, but you can put it on there however you'd like. And then I took my fine tip glue pen, flip these over, just added some little dots. You don't need to go crazy with it because it will stay. Put just some little dots. Line it up. Set it down. You might have to hold it for a couple seconds in some areas to get it to stay. And if any part of it pops up, you can add a little bit of glue back underneath and just put it back down. Those look like they're on there pretty good. So then we're going to stamp these 3 hearts. Normally I would stamp first and then die cut. That way you can get more precise with it, but Stampin' Up! Doesn't allow us to send stamped images. So these are the 3 colors, So Saffron, Blushing Bride, and Highland Heather. The only one that I actually stamped off on was the So Saffron. So stamping off is when you ink up your stamp and then put it on, stamp it first on another piece of paper. That way you get a lighter effect. So I'm going to do that with the So Saffron first, because otherwise it's a little too bright of a yellow. I want it a little lighter. So there's that. Then I'm going to take a baby wipe and clean it real quick in between. Put some of this ink pad. So the color that actually coordinates with this designer series paper is Petal Pink, but I'm using Blushing Bride. Petal Pink is kind of a weird color. It's got more of a brown tone to it. It's kind of hard to tell. So I don't feel like it matches as well as the Blushing Bride. So then I'm going to stamp on here. And then do the Highland Heather. All right. You have to remember to put the lid on your fine tip glue pen. It comes with this little needle inside to make sure that your tip stays nice and clean. But you have to remember to put it back on there. So then you just add the hearts. I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal for the Highland Heather heart. And then I'm going to pop the other 2 up with some dimensionals. There you have it, card number 1. And here's the card kit for card number 2. This is a little bit of a fancy fold. I'll leave it here. That way you can see it all opened up. It looks a little more complicated than it is, but I promise it's not that bad. And there's only one stamp for this card. And you can play around with what side of the designer series paper you want to use. This is just what I chose. So instead of the lollipops, you could use the little dots. But I like the heart lollipops. All right, so you're going to fold your card base in half. And then adhere the white, basic white, to the inside of the card. Then you're going to take the front flap and fold it in half toward the outside crease. Then you'll take the big piece of designer series paper and adhere that to the front. Right here. So then this long piece of Blushing Bride, you're going to fold in half. And then you're going to take the right side and fold it in half towards the middle. And then you're going to flip it over and you're going to put adhesive on the smaller block on the end. You're going to want to make sure you have quite a bit of adhesive on there so it stays. And then I just folded it over, lined it up where I wanted it to go, made sure it was nice and straight. Voila! So then I flip this over and you're going to want to make sure you only put adhesive on the end of the long strip. So I'll use my fingers to kind of like mark off where I want it to end. And I'll just fold it over. There you go. And it opens up like an accordion. So then I'll add the heart paper on the outside of that fold. And then another piece of the lollipop paper. And all these dimensions are in the description box if you want to recreate this card using another theme. Just put that directly in the center. And with this, it ended up being 4 hearts exactly. So check again, it's still the 4 hearts. So then with my snips, I just trimmed, and I kind of followed along to make it still heart instead of just going completely straight. Then I'm going to flip it over and use my fine tip glue again. You can't tell I really love this die. I just added it to the center. And one section popped up a little bit because I had some glue on my fingers. We'll just add a little extra glue for that side. All right. Over, give it some pressure. Make sure it really stays. So then we're going to stamp Happy Valentine's Day in real red. It's such a slim sentiment, so I just did it on a really tiny strip of paper. And then in order to get the banner, I just trimmed. We have a banner punch, but I think this will be a little too tiny. So I just trimmed it into a little banner. I'll include a couple of these little strips because it is such a tight fit. I really liked how the sentiment looked on there. So just trimmed up a little banner. And then with dimensionals, I used the regular size dimensionals for the heart. And just put that directly in the center. And then I flip the sentiment over. And I'm using 2 mini dimensionals on either side. So I'm just going to put those on the end. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then I also added 2 rhinestones from the Basic Jewel rhinestones. So I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. I think I'm going to go with some bigger ones. On this one I used some of the the smaller rhinestones, or mini rhinestones. This one I'm going to use the bigger ones. All right. And there's card number 2. Here is card number 3. Here's the kit. So you're going to fold this over. This is the Highland Heather cardstock. And then you're just going to layer up the white first. And this really pretty designer series paper. You could use whatever side you wanted. The next layer. So then this is using the layering squares. I used the biggest one, the biggest scallop square for the blushing bride, and then the next biggest square for the white. So I'm just going to adhere this down. And I'm just going to put this little banner in real red as the next layer. And then we're going to stamp. So we're stamping in Real Red and Highland Heather. I put the stamps on here like this, that way they were exactly in the same spot, and just flip the paper over. So I inked up the X in the Highland Heather, then inked up the O in Real Red. And I'm just going to flip it over and do the same. That way they're in a perfect square. Right. And then on the inside of the card, I did the same thing. I left it on the block the way that it was. So we're going to do 3 layers. Oh, mine went off a little bit, so I'm going to use a scrap piece of paper. There we go. Then while I have my ink already out, I'll close up the Real Red. Stamp the You Are Cute in Highland Heather on the heart. And close this up, and that's all the stamping. There wasn't a whole lot of stamping in these cards. The designer series paper kind of took over. So I'll put this on the inside of the card. And then where the X and O on top. And then I pop these both up with dimensionals. So I'm going to use the bigger size. Pop them both up. Then I added some tiny rhinestones all around the card. Because you gotta have rhinestones. Oh, they're not jumping everywhere. I'm gonna flip this around. This Take Your Pick tool has a pointy end and then almost has like a little spatula. And I like the spatula side for the rhinestones because I can get them up a little better. And then I'm going to use Blink of Stella. It probably won't show in here, but on the X's and the O's I added a little bit of sparkle. Alright, there you have it, the 3 make and takes for this month. And again, the $35 purchase needs to be put in using the host code before January 23rd. And again, don't use that host code if your order is $150 or more. Because once it's $150, you start earning stamping rewards, and that will be money that you can use to get free Stampin' Up! Products, and I want you to be able to get that. So I will still send you the free card kits if you have a $150 purchase or more. So I appreciate you watching. Again, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.